Imagine a brilliant product manager at a booming tech company overlooking the tech park in Bangalore. She is completely buried under a mountain of sticky notes, text messages, and urgent emails from 5 different corporate directors. One director wants a shiny new payment feature by Friday. Another demands a complete visual overhaul of the homepage. And a third is insisting that the team drops everything to fix a minor layout glitch. She is trying to say yes to everyone, and because she is saying yes to everyone, her development team is completely exhausted, constantly switching tasks and delivering absolutely nothing of substantial substance. This is the exact moment where the disciplined Agile Scrum Master steps in to coach the product owner. Formally, coaching the product owner is defined as the process of guiding and supporting the person responsible for maximizing the value of the product, helping them manage the backlog, interface with stakeholders, and protect the team's capacity. In simple words, it means your job is to be their trusted strategic advisor, helping them move from being a chaotic order taker who just passes demands down the line to becoming an empowered decision maker who knows exactly when and how to say no. You have probably seen this at the office, where a product owner thinks their role is just to type up feature tickets as fast as executives can scream them out. If they stay in that trap, the team becomes a feature factory, spinning its wheels without ever driving true business impact. Coaching them isn't about telling them how to do their job, it's about giving them the confidence, tools, and data to stand their ground. So now that we've mastered the realization that coaching the product owner is about shifting them from an order taker to a strategic driver, you might be wondering how we actually help them sort through that terrifying mountain of conflicting demands. Well, that brings us right into our next step, which is mastering the art of ruthless backlog prioritization. Let's look back at our product manager in Bengaluru. She has over 200 items on her to-do list, and every single one of them is marked as a critical priority. To help her, you sit down together at a quiet table with a large whiteboard. Instead of looking at the tasks as just a massive list of software features, you ask her one simple question. If our server crashed and we could only bring back one single function for our users tomorrow morning, what would it be? She pauses, thinks about it, and points to the core transaction system. That is the beginning of teaching the value filter. The book's definition of backlog prioritization is the continuous process of ordering the product backlog items based on value, risk, size, and dependency to optimize the delivery of business outcomes. In simple language, it simply means putting the most important, money-making, problem-solving items at the very top of the pile and letting everything else wait its turn. Stay with me here because this is where many product owners struggle. They get scared that if they put an item at the bottom, stakeholders will get angry. As a coach, you teach them to use objective frameworks rather than emotional reactions. You help them weigh the cost of delaying a feature against the actual revenue it will bring in. By doing this, you turn a chaotic guessing game into a predictable system where the team is always working on the highest value task available. So, now that we've mastered the strategy of filtering the backlog based on pure business value, you might be wondering how the product owner can effectively explain these tough choices to those loud corporate directors. Well, that brings us right into our next step, which is coaching them on stakeholder management and setting firm boundaries. Think about how that same product manager feels when a powerful senior vice president walks up to her desk and demands a custom report button right now. Her instinct is to fold, smile, and say, "We will look into it immediately." As her coach, you role-play this exact scenario with her before the big meeting. You teach her not to use defensive language like "we don't have time," but instead to use data-driven boundary setting. When the executive asks for the new button, she can open her prioritized roadmap and say, "We can absolutely build that for you, but it will mean delaying the new automated checkout feature by 2 weeks. Which of these two is more important for our quarterly revenue goals?" This is the core of professional stakeholder management. Formally, stakeholder management is defined as the systematic identification, analysis, planning, and implementation of actions designed to engage with and influence stakeholder expectations. In simple terms, it is the art of alignment and boundary setting. It is about helping your product owner realize that they are the absolute gatekeeper of the product. They are not a shield to hide behind, but a diplomat who ensures that the organization's loudest voices do not derail the team's focus. You are coaching them to speak the language of trade-offs rather than the language of absolute rejection. So, now that we've mastered the techniques for helping the product owner negotiate and draw clear lines with external stakeholders, you might be wondering how we translate those high-level business decisions into clear, understandable instructions for the development team. Well, that brings us right into our next step, which is the art of writing crystal clear user stories. Imagine the development team sits down for their planning session, and the product owner hands them a ticket that simply says, "Upgrade the user profile system." The developers look at each other completely confused. Does this mean changing the profile pictures? Does it mean upgrading the security database? Does it mean adding a social media link? Because the instruction is completely vague, the developers spend 3 days arguing about what to build. And eventually, they build something the customer didn't even want. You sit down with the product owner and coach them on the mechanics of writing clear user stories with explicit acceptance criteria. The technical definition of a user story is an informal, natural language description of one or more features of a software system written from the perspective of an end user. In simple words, it is a simple template that answers 3 questions. Who wants this? What do they want? And why do they want it? Let's break this down together. Instead of saying upgrade the profile system, you teach them to write, as a premium subscriber, I want to upload a high resolution profile video so that I can showcase my portfolio to potential clients. Suddenly the ambiguity vanishes. The developers know exactly who they are building for, what needs to be made, and how to test if it is truly finished. You are coaching the product owner to become an exceptional communicator who bridges the massive gap between abstract business strategy and concrete technical execution. So, now that we have mastered how to guide the product owner in creating clear, actionable requirements, you might be wondering how we ensure they stay connected with the team throughout the entire building process without becoming a micromanager. Well, that brings us right into our next step, which is establishing the perfect collaboration rhythm. You've probably seen this specific dysfunction at the office. A product owner who only shows up on the first day of the sprint to hand over tasks, disappears into meetings for 2 weeks, and then shows up on the final day to complain that the product isn't what they expected. Or even worse, the product owner who sits next to the developers all day long, watching over their shoulders, questioning every single line of code, and driving everyone completely insane. Neither of these models works. As a coach, you help them find the sweet spot of collaboration. The formal definition of product owner collaboration is the ongoing, healthy partnership between the product owner and the delivery team, characterized by open communication, shared accountability, and frequent feedback loops. In simple words, it is about being available but not suffocating. You teach the product owner to attend the daily sync, not to demand status updates, but to listen for blockers and clarify questions. You help them set up a regular, predictable cadence where developers can pop over for a 5-minute clarification rather than waiting for an official meeting. This creates a beautifully relaxed classroom tone across the whole project where mistakes are caught early, assumptions are tested immediately, and the team feels entirely supported rather than policed. So, now that we've mastered the art of building a healthy, balanced, day-to-day partnership between the product owner and the creators, you might be wondering how we help them look past the current sprint and focus on the long-term future of the product. Well, that brings us right into our next step, which is coaching them on adaptive roadmap planning. Finally, our product manager in Bengaluru has a smooth backlog, happy stakeholders, and an aligned team. But now, she needs to look at the big picture. She brings you a rigid 12-month project plan that locks in every single feature release for the entire year. You look at it and gently remind her of the Agile reality check we discussed before. The market will change, a new competitor will emerge, and technology will evolve. Locking yourself into a rigid year-long plan is a recipe for irrelevance. You coach her on developing an adaptive roadmap. Formally, an adaptive roadmap is a high-level strategic document that outlines the vision and direction of a product over time, designed to be frequently updated based on market feedback and changing data. In simple language, it's a flexible guide that tells everyone where we hope to go, while openly admitting that we will adjust our path as we learn more. You teach her to group future work into broad themes like improving user retention or streamlining checkout, rather than specific feature promises. This gives the business a clear sense of direction while preserving the team's absolute freedom to innovate and pivot when fresh data arrives. By coaching your product owner through this entire journey, from managing the daily chaos to defining long-term strategy, you aren't just helping them run a cleaner project. You are building an incredibly capable, vision-driven product leader who can successfully steer any team through the most complex corporate landscapes with absolute confidence and grace.